Christo, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
So it's not very often that you get to sit with a former NFL player. When you probably walk in a room, someone will probably always ask you, did you play professional basketball or football? But
Yeah.
we're very pleased to have you, man. We got Christo Bilukidi, former NFL player, born and coming from Congo, grew up in Ottawa South, went to St. Pat's, and really paved the way for a lot of current NFL guys who came from St. Pat's and aspiring players from St. Pat's. But pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to come in and chop it up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like doing these podcasts, man. I just chopping it up with people and kind of just telling my story as well too, and kind of allowing others to hear my story so they can use it for themselves. It's always nice, but
nice.
I appreciate it.
I know we chatted a bit before recording, so I know that you got some good insights. You probably get asked a lot of questions when you play in the NFL, little stories, some famous guys that you played with and whatnot. So we're going to try to touch base on all that, get a little bit of understanding about your history. You were a late bloomer into getting into football, so it's a really amazing story. So tell us what it was like. You talked about being from Congo, but you had kind of a diverse background of different countries and whatnot. So tell us the story of how you guys immigrated to Canada.
Yeah, I think, I was about 1 year old, and my mom, my dad, my sister, we kind of went to different countries, went to like France, went to Brazil, a little bit in the US, and then Canada was Ottawa was the last city that we landed. And just from there, unfortunately, my parents separated, as when I was about 2 or 3 years old, and my dad went back to Congo, and we stayed. But grew up in Ottawa, did elementary school there, French elementary school, then went to St. Pat's as well too, obviously an English high school. But yeah, Ottawa is definitely where I called home.
So what's it like growing up in a Congolese? We've had diverse people on this podcast where we got a mix of everything. We've heard of different cultures. What's it like growing up in a Congolese household with your mom? Was she a strict mother? Was it a tight ship at the house, or what was it like?
You know what I will say, like with my mom, she kind of got accustomed to the North American westernized ways. Of course, she was strict, making sure that we would clean up after ourselves. But I think her knowing that she's a single mother, especially where we grew up, I think what she did well is she became our friend, where we can really talk to her about anything like that's personal. I definitely had that kind of relationship with my mom. So it was great because she added, a different, I don't know if you want to call it just a different method of raising us.
Okay.
And from there, like I said, I've had the best relationship with my mom, and I hope my son also has that kind of relationship with his mom as well too, because again, as a single mother, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Sure.
Imagine raising 2 kids, and again, where we grew up as well too.
So where did you grow up?
Yeah, we grew up in Russell Heights.
Okay.
Yeah, so Russell Heights there near the Mville, not the Giant Tiger one. Yeah. So we grew up Russell
the
Heights.
Basketball courts there with the cage or whatever it is.
Yeah, so the cage was
the
Russell
cage
Rose.
Okay,
Yeah.
But
Cage was Russell Rose. Russell Heights was
exactly
the other
which
one.
It's beside the Pearly Robertson.
Exactly.
I know exactly.
Exactly. So I grew up there, right? So a lot of immigrants out there.
Diverse.
Very, very
culture.
diverse. Some refugees out there as well too. So it's very easy to lose your ways, because you're obviously surrounded by other people that are trying to figure things out as well too. So like I said, my mom had to really be strong, and she was, and we all got out pretty well.
So growing up, were you going to that community house? I know that there's a community house at Russell Heights, or when did you kind of find your love for sports, or what was it like growing up? Were you more of a bookworm, a video game kid, or was sports kind of your first love?
Yeah, definitely sports. Basketball court outside during the summer, I'm there like 24/7, and not just playing basketball, because it was a big enough, like the court, there was like a good basketball court size, but then there was another, let's say 50 yard of just concrete. So we'd play soccer there, we'd play baseball there. I mean, it was fun because there's all the kids in the neighborhood as well too. During the winter time, if you want to go skating, you can. But then we just go to Dempsey Community Center, which is walking distance. from our place. So we played basketball out there, dodgeball, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I knew like sports was the avenue I wanted to go towards, right? It's just playing all those sports with all those kids, and I always had fun as well too. I was always good at it, right?
Yeah.
All these every time.
Were you a bigger kid?
I was always a bigger kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I was always a bigger kid, but I was always athletic.
Okay.
Like I can always hang with the little guys, right? When it came to like speed, agility, and everything else, like I can always hang. So that's why they always liked me and they always want to play with me.
Of course,
right?
Man,
so,
of course.
So
did they always say like you got to play basketball because you're tall? Was that something you always heard growing up, or was it that you actually loved basketball?
No, it's just I love basketball. But my first sport, my first love was actually soccer,
Which is huge in Africa.
Yeah, it's massive, right? And all my family as well too. They're big soccer heads as well.
So before we get into that, who's your team, just in case we have any beef?
Manchester United, baby.
Okay,
Come
nice.
on. Who is you?
I'm a Real Madrid fan.
Oh, Real? Yeah. I mean, I follow Real. So like Cristiano Ronaldo, when he left to Real, I obviously follow Real, but then he's back, back to the real team right now. So,
You were praying I didn't say Manchester City, I'm assuming.
We were going to watch the game together, next week, or is it this weekend? Anyways, so soccer, right? So soccer was the first sport that I played as an organized sport, where I had coaches and teammates and traveling tournaments and all that kind of stuff. And I fell in love with it. I was a goalkeeper. Just again, height-wise, size-wise, that was the position that fit me. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I've made some really good friends till this day that I'm, good friends with. The coach that was there as well too. This coach, I haven't seen him in years, probably let's say 10 plus years. But one thing he did is he taught us how to win.
Okay.
And for a coach to do that to a kid or kids, it's huge because it teaches you how to win just in life in general. But he taught us how to do that while playing soccer, which was pretty amazing.
Which team, you can give a shout out to the coach. You can say his name if you want.
Yeah, Joe Correa, man. Joe Correa was the head coach. Ottawa International is the team he played for. Yeah. So that was the youth team that I was in.
Nice. That's awesome. So soccer, when did the transition into basketball really take place?
I'd say high school.
Okay.
So like I said, when I was a kid, let's say before 10 years old, I played all the sports, right? Yeah. Just in the neighborhood, played every sport.
That's how it was in those areas. Like you finish school, you just go out and you find something to play.
Do your homework. Do your homework for
anything.
30 minutes to an hour, bang it out. You probably did it wrong, but you just bolted outside. Yeah. And but anyways, so like I said, before like 10, I'd probably just play all kinds of sport, but then organized sports started when I was like 10, 11, soccer. And then when I got to high school, that's when I started playing basketball. So I transitioned into basketball. I think, not only because I like basketball, but I think because it was like the popular sport.
You went to St. Pat's, right?
Yeah. So funny enough, I went to Franco Cité my first year.
Oh, okay.
So grade 9, that's what I was telling you. I got to St. Pat's in 2004.
Okay.
Because in 2003, grade 9, I was at Franco Cité. Tried out for the basketball team. There's a whole bunch of guys there that, some of them I'm still friends with today.
They're not a basketball school.
No.
I say that because I got friends, but
no.
They're a volleyball school. They had,
Well, I mean,
Études, and they had soccer as well.
So at that time, Franco Cité was not a sports school, right? They were kind of starting Sport Études, right? But it still wasn't there, right? Volleyball, they've always had a pretty good team, but everything else, pretty whatever. Yeah. It's a little bit when I left, then they started really building their program and stuff like that, which is nice. But Edelson Silva. So when I was in grade 9, I think we had a little family function, and I saw Edelson, and Edelson's like, "Yo, what are you doing at Franco Cité? You're an athlete. Go to St. Pat's." Exactly. Right.
And if you're not at St. Pat's, you're not a legit athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off my phone. Sorry.
No worries. We just roll with it.
So Edelson was like, "Yeah, you need to go to St. Pat's. That's the school. That's where all the athletes are. You'll get a better shot there." I had somehow convinced my mom to be like, "Hey, Mom, listen," and I got Ellison to kind of chime in there as well.
So you've never been in an English school before?
Never. Okay. Right. I was always in a French school. And
just sorry to cut you off. Just to give some context, we had a podcast with highlighting that 2000 team. So Edelson Silva was part of that 2000 team, that championship team. He was a 3-point shooter for them.
Yeah. Really good player.
And really good player. So that just some context to that. So
that's right. So anyway, so he convinced my mom. And my mom was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then I somehow convinced one of my best friends, James Kwame. I convinced him to come to St. Pat's with me as well too, and then he went with me, and then It was all she wrote after that.
Okay, so you had some. Now I get the reason why you're in sales. You had some pretty persuasive skills back.
Just got to
in the
know how
day.
to talk to people, man. Just got to know.
So, you were a professional NFL player, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you usually you hear a sport you play growing up. You played we haven't talked about football at this point.
No.
So
no.
Your background in basketball and let's transition on how you got into football. Tell us the story of. It's very rare that someone doesn't play football until the age that you did and
That's
go
right.
professionally, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did it transition from basketball and then getting into football?
Yeah. So same person I'm going to shout out is my best friend, James Kwame.
Okay.
So James was a football player, and
Okay.
he played football since he was a kid, since he was young. And then going in towards our last year, he convinced me to, hey, why don't you play football? I was a big guy. I was athletic. I was playing basketball. I had all the tools to play football. And I didn't know too much about football, right? I knew what it was, but never played it and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me go ahead and try it out. And I did. Loved it. When you're good at something, you start loving it even more. Especially as a tight end, it was great because I was 6'3", so I'm going up against a DB that's 5'8", 5'9", maybe 6 foot.
Yeah.
But because I'm athletic, all I did was jump balls, right?
Exactly.
Once you get within the 10-yard line, hey, let's go
Those
isolate
basketball-
myself.
those
Yeah,
basketball
exactly.
instincts to
Basketball,
box
box him out, and get up there. So I was like, oh man, this sport is easy.
Yeah.
So anyways, from there, like I said, Gems again, a few other guys as well too that he knew, we went to a camp out in the Toronto area.
Okay.
And
This is all your last year of high school?
on my last year of high school,
Okay.
yeah. So we went to a camp out in the Toronto area, and then this was in the summertime now. And then from there were American coaches that were there. I won the MVP of that camp. Okay, again, never really played like a full season of football for like a few years. It was my first year. And once a few coaches came up to me, Canadian and American, and they're like, listen, we like what we see. You're big, you're athletic, you're raw, right?
Yeah.
We can tell that you're raw, but the biggest thing is we can mold you into a really good player. So, let's keep chatting. Give us your contact information. We'll contact you. And I think a week later, when I was back home, I remember coming into the house from school, and I had a stack of letters from all these universities, Canadian and Americans.
What was that? First of all, let me ask a question before asking that feeling. Did you think that, were you just having fun playing football before going to this tournament?
Of course,
Did you even think
man.
of going anywhere or think there was a future?
So the crazy thing is I actually told myself that I was going to go to that camp just to get better at the sport.
Okay.
That's what I told myself, right? It wasn't, I had no expectation of getting recruited. I actually didn't even know there was going to be those type of coaches there, right? I thought it was just going to be like a camp, right?
Exactly.
Get better, here's the fundamental,
fun,
here's the
your boys are
technique.
there.
Exactly. So it kind of it caught me off guard a little bit that, it's now these coaches are all coming after me and stuff and saying, hey, we want you to come to our school, scholarships here, scholarships there. So it was kind of a surreal moment.
You still have those letters?
No, I don't think so. I have those
You're
letters.
too big for that.
No, not even. I wasn't thinking about that at that time. Things were happening so fast.
Yeah.
As well too. So that's how I started into the whole football career and stuff. And then from there,
So you get those letters. Do you then click and say, listen, okay, I got to take this serious. This is what I want to do.
Of course.
And then you set it kind of like a game plan and a goal as to what was your first goal that you had set?
Yeah. So, when I got these letters, I was like, okay, this is a real thing. So basketball now is, kind of in the back burner, right? I'm not, because I really want to play college basketball.
Okay.
So I was planning to go to maybe Algonquin and then go from there, kind of that route. But when I saw football was a better opportunity, I was like, okay, let me take this more serious. So I contacted the school that I wanted to go because I did some research on them. So it was the University of Louisville.
Okay.
So I wanted to go there because they got me out for a visit, right? So we went down there. My mom and my uncle actually went down to go see the school, met all the coaches.
Was Teddy Bridgewater there at that time?
No. Teddy I feel like Teddy's a few years younger.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a few years younger than I am.
Okay. I'm a Vikings fan, so that's why.
Yeah, Teddy, yeah. So we go to the camp, anyways, meet all the coaches, and I was like, yeah, this is a school I want to go to. But like I was saying before, is the courses that I took, I didn't have bad grades. It's the courses that I took in
Like
high school.
applied versus
That's
academic.
right, exactly. Can transfer to university, hence why I had to transfer to a junior college.
And it's funny because we talk about, like, I mean, this is more of a program to inspire youth, and it's tough because at that age you don't really think of the consequences that an applied class. You just want to get good grades and you want to take the easiest route as possible, play your sports, be with your friends.
That's right.
It's crazy how something like that could have impacted your career.
And it's unfortunate because now that there's a lot of kids that are heading to the NCAA, like there's tons of kids now from all over Ottawa, which is great. But I still feel like there's not that sense of urgency from the education board to be like, hey, let's start like some sort of program for athletes that want to take that next step to go to the NCAA, to kind of guide them, get a guidance counselor to be like, these are the courses that you need to take.
Like, I never knew about St. Pat's. I never went to a guidance counselor. I knew it was right in the mall area. I never didn't have time for that, right? So that's a great point.
We weren't even thinking about it. The same here as well too. So yeah.
So you got to get those courses, right? So what was the route that you figured out that you needed to do?
Yeah. So the coach at Louisville said that, okay, since we can't get you in for the first 2 years because you have to graduate from a junior college, we have some connections at college down in Arizona.
Okay.
So Eastern Arizona was a junior college I went to. It was up in Thatcher, Arizona, maybe about an hour and a half from Phoenix, up in the mountains, town of like 5,000 people, small town. So I went through that grind. Junior college is a grind. I don't know if you ever watched Last Chance U on Netflix. Some. It's a grind. Like, trust me, I've been there, seen it, done it. It's the real thing. But after my first year there, that whole staff at Louisville all got fired, right? So they had a terrible season. So that connection was gone, right? So I was like,
unfortunate.
That's right, because that would have been a really good school to transfer to. But, you know, things happen for a reason, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to just keep grinding it out. I'm going to have a really good season next year. I was starting to get more reps as well, too. My first year, I got some reps. My second year, I got way more reps. I started a few games as well. And then a few schools, you know, recognized me, started knocking on the door. And I went to a visit down in Atlanta. I don't know if you've been to Atlanta before. Beautiful city. It's huge. And I went to Georgia State for a visit, and I fell in love with the school. You know, it's right downtown Atlanta, nice. 35,000 students. But one of the biggest thing, what drew me to go to Georgia State was brand new program. So I was going to be in the inaugurating season. Like nice. I told myself, like, I can start a legacy here, right? Because you hear about the big programs like Alabama, USC, LSU. Those programs started in the 1800s, right? And there was the founders that were there, and they've made what LSU is today.
Exactly.
So I told myself I have the opportunity of doing that. So that's how I kind of narrowed it down to Georgia State University.
So real quick, before you got to Georgia State, at what point did you realize, like, I'm good at football? Like, did it click? You said you started to get reps. You start to start.
Yeah.
Football in the U.S. is a different beast, right? It's a religion, especially when you're getting in the south of the states.
Sure, yeah.
When did it click that you said, listen, man, I got a real future in this. Not only do I enjoy this, I'm not only here to get to, you know, the next level. When did you realize that I'm good? And were you still playing tight end at that point, or did you switch over to defense yet?
Yeah. So first question, as far as position, I switched to tight end. I switched to defensive end when I got to college.
Okay.
Right. So I was a defensive end there. And then the second question, when did I start knowing I was getting good? When you get the respect from other players as well. That's when you know that, okay, I'm actually good at this, right? So I'm getting respect from Americans, number one, right? Because that's their sport. I'm this foreigner coming into their territory. They were just the kind of respect, the way they were communicating with me, the way they were integrating me into their life as well too. I was hanging out with them and stuff. That's when I kind of realized that, okay, I'm actually pretty good at this sport. It's not a fluke.
Were you homesick at all, being away from you talk about being away from your family. You're in Phoenix, you're ways away. Yeah, no, I was definitely homesick. I'm very close with my mom as well too. So to not have her home cooking, to not have her love like beside me was definitely tough. All my friends as well too, all the friends that I grew up with, and I have a really tight knit of friends, and we're still friends all till this day.
So it was pretty tough as well too. And of course, at that time they were in college as well, so they didn't have the money to come see me play, right?
And there's no FaceTime, there's no
at the time it was MSN Messenger,
exactly.
you know.
So,
so it definitely wasn't the same. I guess it was Facebook more so, but anyways, wasn't the same, right? So it was tough, but I was on a mission. Okay. And I had just one mission, one goal, and that was my only focus, and I knew I couldn't ruin that, you know, just because I was homesick.
So Georgia State, let's talk about that. You talked about being part of the inaugural season. Did you feel wanted? Obviously you felt wanted, that you had a visit and whatnot. What was the expectations of being in a new program? Not only for creating your legacy, but what was the expectation of you guys making some noise, being a good football team, and you being, I guess, a leader and a top recruit for them?
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, the expectation, just like every other program, is get a winning season, right? That's your number one, especially as an inaugural program as well, too, because a lot of people are riding on that, right? They're, you know, the students, the faculty, the admin, the coaches, I mean, you name it, the alumni, right? So they're expecting
a lot of money involved.
Tons, man. Like I said, Georgia State is like one of the number one business schools in the country. Okay. Right. So we get a lot of alumni, you know, that own big businesses and stuff like that, and they come back to the school, they donate and stuff like that. So, so there was definitely some high expectations for myself as well too. I think I've always felt like, not a chip on my shoulder, I'm not going to use that word, but more so like I did feel for myself personally, I had an expectation because I'm a foreigner. Yeah. Right. So I'm coming in, like I said, in a territory that I'm not familiar with, because A, I didn't grow up playing football, and B, I'm not from America. Right. Yeah. So I think just like I always had to figure out, like I had to try to figure out how to be the best all the time. And so that definitely served me well. It allowed me to gain a lot more confidence. So when I was playing, you know, I was definitely more confident more than other guys that were on the field as well too, because I just had that kind of mindset, you know. Okay. So yeah, definitely the expectation was high to try to build this program.
So how many years did you end up playing at Georgia State?
2 years.
2 years. And how were those 2 years? How did the program take you guys in? Like what was that before we start talking about NFL?
Georgia State was great, man. Like I said, I was downtown Atlanta, 2 years there. So how old was I? I was like 21 years old. So you can imagine what a 21-year-old does in downtown Atlanta. You know, you're trying to find, you know, the fun things to do. And I definitely did. That was cool. But definitely, you know, I put in a lot of work as well, too. Okay. I knew that in order for me to leave that kind of legacy, I had to put in a lot of work. So, of course, you know, I was, you know, training a lot, you know, practicing a lot, schoolwork. I was getting that done as well, too, and stuff, because it's not like back in the 80s, 70s, 60s where you can get away with, you know, not being good in school. Right?
Yeah, but that's the perception, though. Once you're on the
like
team, someone's doing your homework, you got tutors or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like that no more.
So what is a typical day in a high level football program or athletics program in the States? What is what can a younger kid who's thinking about, obviously it's you would need to know, you probably have to be recruited at a young age, but just to kind of give them an idea.
6 a.m. wake up, get to the buses. The buses take you to the practice facility. There's a little bit of breakfast there. Then you have your first meeting at 7 a.m. Then you have all your positional meetings. You break that up. That's about an hour and a half. Get ready for practice. Practice probably starts around 9, probably ends around 11. Take a shower, then go to classes. Then classes from, like, let's say anywhere from 12 to 5, 12 to 6. Then you have study hall, right, from like 6 to 7. Then you have to go back, you know, do your homework or try to find a social life, right? Okay. And I think the biggest thing is, I think it's the biggest thing is once you get to college is you just have to learn how to balance, right? Okay. Because you have to balance football, school, and social life. It's very hard. And a lot of guys don't make it because they don't know how to balance all three. Correct. It's either they have too much of one thing or too much of the other and stuff. It is what it is. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for like kids that do aspire to get to that level is understanding how to balance all three of those things, right? And if you know how to balance those three, you'll be fine. So
at what point was the NFL a reality? Like at what point in your time at Georgia State did the coaches come and tell you like you got a real shot at this? When did it kind of become a reality that you could make it to the NFL?
You know, I was lucky. I had my head coach. He played in the NFL for about 10 years.
Okay.
He was an offensive lineman.
Nice.
And he actually played, he won the first Super Bowl ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with the Green Bay Packers. He was the starting center. He was Bart Starr's center. So, you know.
He talks, you listen.
Exactly. Coach Curry, Coach Bill Curry, my mentor till this day and stuff. And he's just taught me so much. But after the first year I got to Georgia State, I did well. I led the team in sacks and tackle for losses. And we're coming back to training camp. The next year. We're all kind of settling in. I got a phone call from him. He's like, "Hey, Christo, come and see me at my office. I'd like to talk to you." Great. Sit down. You know, we start chatting and stuff. He's like, "Listen, like, I'm getting a lot of phone calls from a lot of scouts. They like what they see. So my advice to you is just keep playing as hard as that you've been playing for us last year. You know, have a better year this year, and I think, you know, things may go your way, you know." So, you know, I'm listening from a guy that played in the NFL, right? So I know there's some merit to it as well. So that's what I did. I went in my last year. I played my ass off. I was team captain as well too, which was great. So I showed a lot of leadership, which was huge for me. And I got voted by my peers to be a team captain. It wasn't by the coaches, It wasn't by the fans, it was by my peers. So I knew that I gained the ultimate respect. You know, to be a team captain, it's, you know, there's no better feeling, because you know that, you know, you're now leading, right? So I did that, you know, team captain, had a really great season, and then from there, that's when the NFL started knocking on the door.
So right now we're kind of in combine season. You see all this stuff on NFL, you know, Instagram and whatnot. Did you end up going through the combine, or what kind of was your process for draft and whatnot? Yeah,
no, I didn't go through the combine. I just had a pro day.
Okay.
So the pro day came at the university. I think there was maybe about like 15, 20 scouts there, which is great because they were really coming to see me, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I knew I had to shine. But it's exciting now to see all the combine things that are happening because, man, it's like a lot of these guys, you know, they're going to change their life in the next few months, right? Yeah. So it's always exciting to see that and stuff, and to see even guys that are, you know, connected to you as well too. You know, there's this one kid that's from Ottawa. He's in the combine right now. I've had a really good relationship with him, talked to him, you know, many times, and he's definitely on his way to get drafted, and he's going to change his life and his family's life as well too, right? So it's really good to see that, you know, because I was in that position. Of course, yeah.
Is he from Congo as well?
Congolese,
okay,
yeah. Us Congolese, man, we're born athletes.
I guess it's the Congolese Ottawa South connection that somehow
whatever the water is in the South, you know, we drink it and we turn into, you know, different animals. But you know, yeah. So it's exciting for him, right? Because, you know, it's cool because he's obviously taken a step up, right? Yeah. Because he went to a bigger school. Correct. And he went to the Senior Bowl, did very well there. You know, I followed him at the Senior Bowl, him doing his thing as well too. And, you know, now he's going to the combine, he's doing that as well too. And then he's going to, you know, go to the draft and stuff.
It's crazy because I think you kind of led the way. There's also Neville Gallimore as well.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Crazy to say for a basketball powerhouse school to have three guys that'll be in the NFL. It's pretty. Yeah. It's remarkable, man. It's insane.
And we're not going to be the only ones. And I'm telling you because there's just like Jesse and just like Neville. So probably Neville looked at me, Jesse looked at Neville, and they're like, well, this guy can do it. And they went to the same high school. Exactly. They, you know, put shoes on like I put shoes on. They drink the same water I drink. Well, why can't I do it?
Exactly. Right? I mean, it helps when you're 6'5", you know, 260 pounds. You know?
Genetics do help, absolutely. Genetics do help, but yeah, no, they definitely have Jesse has a really great shot, and I'm very excited for him.
Nice. Yeah. So what was I'm a basketball guy, so I'm a diehard Raptors fan. So I spent many years preparing for the draft, looking at these you know, these mock drafts. What was kind of your expectation for draft day? Did you expect it to be drafted, or were you thinking of going the undrafted route? You had the goal, obviously, to be in the NFL, right? So what was your expectations of that week leading up to the draft and whatnot?
Yeah, after talking to my agent, you know, we were kind of expecting undrafted for sure. Undrafted, maybe hit the lower rounds, like maybe the 7th round, you know, somewhere a little bit later. You know, I didn't come from a big school, and although I had a really good I had a really good pro day and I had a really good season, I think because I was still raw, right? And that was the biggest thing,
right?
right?
You've only
So
been
it's
playing
like, wow.
football for what, 5 years?
Yeah, exactly, a few years, right? So that's where the expectation was at, you know, being in the lower rounds or undrafted. But, you know, I got drafted in the 6th round, a lot higher than what I thought I was going to get drafted to, 189th pick. And then, like I said, that's where I started my career.
So you get drafted by the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
An iconic team, an iconic franchise.
That's right, just win, baby.
You know, the black and silver, right?
That's right.
Like, what was that like, man, coming into your first? I mean, obviously, I don't want to take away from the excitement. I can only imagine being drafted to the NFL, but what was it like going into training camp and seeing guys that you may have played Madden, you know what I mean, may have, like, obviously I don't know how big of a fan you were of football, you know, just getting into it, but
That's right.
What was it like coming to that training camp, seeing the cars, seeing that lifestyle, and just the sense of accomplishment of making it to the highest level?
You know, when I got to Oakland, I didn't know when I got drafted to Oakland, I didn't know too much about the Raiders because I didn't grow up watching football. Then obviously when I got drafted, then I'm like, let me do my research on these guys. You know, the team that I'm gonna go and represent and play for.
The famous owner.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's when I knew about, you know, the owners and their history of winning the Super Bowls and John Madden being the coach there and having some great success as well too. That's when I started understanding, whoa, this is a big time organization. This isn't just a team. You know, it has a lot of people who are Oakland fans. I'll never forget this, man. I met this guy in Oakland, and he had left to Thailand, either on vacation for work, whatever the case was. And he sent me a picture in Thailand, of a car decked out in Oakland Raiders. So I knew that Oakland, just like the symbol, was worldwide.
Correct.
And even going to Europe, like I've been to Europe, I've been to many cities out there and stuff. You see people with the Raiders hat.
Yeah, man.
Right?
It's kind of like a culture.
That's
you got to
right.
think NWA and whatnot.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like my brother's going to hate me because my brother's a Niners fan, but it's kind of like the West Coast team. It's like the LA, you know what I mean? It's really that iconic team for that.
Just because, you know, like I said, in the 80s and the 90s, like they were deemed like the bad boys. They're the blue collar team and stuff like that, right? They were the blue collar team, so a lot of people kind of gravitated towards them, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, okay, this is a huge organization I'm going to go play for.
So what was your expectations? You know, you get drafted. Was the expectations of making the roster, practice squad? Like, what was your, you know, sitting down with the coaches? What was your expectation for those years in Oakland?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always to make when you're drafted, whether it's in the 7th round or it's in the 1st round, you know, your expectation is to make the team, right? Even as an undrafted, right? If they're calling you up, you know, that expectation is I need to make the team and I need to try to win my way to start as well too. Yeah. So that was obviously the mentality for me when I got to Oakland is I need to make my mark. I need to show them that, you know, they didn't waste the pick, right? That I'm coming in and I'm coming to play and I'm coming to play hard as well too, and I'm coming to represent, you know, the Raider Nation. But yeah, so that was the whole mentality for me going into Oakland.
So who was it? We talked a little bit before, but who was on that squad? You talked about Richard Seymour and whatnot, some really big players, but I know I don't want to test your memory. You're getting a little bit old. So
yeah. So I'm thinking. So Richard Seymour, Tommy Kelly, Carson Palmer. He was the quarterback there.
So there were some expectations coming into that year with Carson Palmer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Carson was with the Bengals for quite a long time, and then finally got to Oakland. By the way, Carson is one of the coolest guys, man. I have a funny story with him as well.
On his ACL, I just remember him with he was the actual sponsored athlete by those knee braces.
Oh, was he really?
I tore my ACL. And I remember he was the sponsored.
Yeah, he had his face and stuff. No, man. I mean, he was like the USC guy. I think he's from California. But anyways,
big dude too, no?
Yeah, Carson was maybe like 6'5", I'd say 6'4", 6'5". But on McFadden, he was there as well too. He was the running back. As a receiver, we didn't really have like a.
That wasn't the Randy Moss.
No. He definitely wasn't there. We didn't have a top guy as like a receiver, not the ones that's really memorable. The year after, Charles Woodson, he came back, and that was really cool being with Charles Woodson. He's the legend himself. You know, he played with Oakland his first few years, then went to Green Bay, won a Super Bowl, came back to Oakland. Really nice guy. This guy, one year we go into the locker room. I think it's training camp, and there's like J's everywhere all across everyone's locker, because you're sponsored by Jordan.
Yeah, exactly.
So we all had, pairs of J's and stuff like that. Like, damn, Charles, cool.
Yeah,
I appreciate it and stuff, So that was really cool. But I'd say, yeah, he was probably the most popular player that I played with in Oakland for sure.
So what was that you hear on some of these podcasts? What was your welcoming moment to the NFL?
Man, it sucked. Rookie year, we had to okay, so I'll talk about like my rookie experiences. As a rookie, we had to do a few things. Like we always had to carry guys' pads, right, from the practice field to the locker room and back and forth. During away games, we always had to get like food for our positionals, our position guys. So we usually would get Popeyes, right? Okay. So me and there was another rookie as well too. We were both defensive linemen. And we'd always get the food from them as well too. And then we had to do rookie dinner as well. So rookie dinner was pretty bad because we had to spend a lot of money on these guys as well too and stuff. But that was kind of like my I'm in the league right now.
So I want to ask this question. If you ask everyone a question, which we'll touch on later, but what was that one first big purchase that you look back and say, what the hell was I doing that? And then a big purchase that you were still comfortable that doing it now. Like, is there any crazy things that you bought? Obviously, you're coming into money, right?
Yeah. I'd say, I'd probably say the car that I bought. Yeah, definitely. You start understanding as you start growing up, the money game, and buying a car outright is not the move. Absolutely not and stuff, right? So I'd say it was like first car I bought, I think it was like a Challenger or something like that. So that was like the one that till this day I'm like, well, not till this day, I really don't care now and stuff, but like I would have never done that.
Okay.
Right now. Right now, as far as like, something that I've purchased since I've been playing, it's all the properties I've invested in. Yeah. So that's definitely, and I started investing while I was playing for sure. So those are like till this day, because I'm in real estate right now, so it just makes sense as well too. But yeah, that's definitely the good purchases.
How hard is it to come to that conclusion, right? Like, obviously, you talk so smoothly about it. You talked about it. That's multiple years being in there, and that's the NFL. You're not talking about some small league or overseas in a second league or whatever. You're talking NFL. There's still money to be made in going to these OTAs and these training camps and whatnot.
Sure.
How hard of a reality is it to come to that conclusion that your dream is coming to an end?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I definitely had to, the first few years was definitely still tough, right?
Yeah.
Because especially if you're an athlete, just think about it like this. You, when you're younger, you were always picked first in everything, right? Let's say playing whatever sport it was. When high school, same thing. College, you got a scholarship. You're the guy, you're team captain. And then one day, someone says you're not good enough to play for this team.
Yeah.
It's a huge ego check,
correct?
Right?
Because you were the man.
That's
You've
right.
Been the man, yeah.
Been the guy, the city knows who you are now. People that grew up with you, they know who you are and stuff. But, it's unfortunate, but anyways, so dealing with that is tough. Right, dealing with that transition and that pivot is definitely tough, especially when you're younger as well too, because you still haven't matured. You're still not a mature person. So handling it was tough, I will say, but at the end of the day, you got to get through it, right? And I did, obviously. And yes, coming to an end to tell myself that okay, there's a lot of money that I'm leaving on the table, but I think. I told myself when I made that decision, I'm like, well, I made it into the NFL, one of the hardest leagues to ever,
for sure,
to ever try to play in. So anything I do after that, I'll find my success, So that's when I told myself that it was a little bit easier to make the transition. Let's just say it like that.
So real quick before I go on the next question, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but getting those big checks, man, what was that like coming from someone who grew up in community housing?
Yeah.
Single mother. You talked about this, like.
Yeah.
What did that first paycheck, man? What did that feel like, man?
It just felt that, I can help people that I'm close with, that I want to help, especially like my mom and stuff like that. I can provide for them. I'm a little bit more free, things that I've always wanted to do. I definitely found traveling while I was playing, right? Because I had the money to do that.
Yeah.
So that was a really good feeling that I can just travel not when I want to travel, obviously not during the season, but like in my off season, I'm like, I want to go to Europe today.
Yeah.
And I can just peace out and go to Europe. So that was really cool to have that as well too, that kind of have that freedom to do so. But I will say this, man, I listen to a lot of podcasts as well too. Grant Cardone is someone that I listen on the real estate side. And
hopefully you listen to my stuff too.
Yeah. Actually, I was listening to the last podcast you did with Jamil.
Okay.
And I really like what Jamil is doing right now. I listened to a few podcasts, and one of the things that I'll never forget is once you come to a certain amount of money, okay, you will know and understand how to get that kind of money later on, whatever you do.
Okay.
And when I heard that, to me, it just, it told me, I told myself, I said, all right, the NFL was great. The paychecks was nice. The money was good, but I know I could do that somewhere else.
Because the habits and the characteristics can transition into anything.
Anything.
Exactly.
Right. Anything.
I like that.
So that really helped. It helped with the transition for sure.
Now, I've always had a question. We talked about how we never really formally met. We went to the same high school. I was a couple years older than you. I always wondered why you didn't go to the CFL. Obviously, people think once you're done with the NFL, real quick, what was the reason that CFL just wasn't of interest to you?
I think if I played 1 year in the NFL, I would have definitely gone to the CFL.
Okay.
But, I had 4 credited seasons. So I made enough money where I was like, okay, I can start investing my money.
Okay.
Right? And make my money, make more money.
Was
right?
injuries a factor at all? Or?
No.
Okay.
Injuries definitely wasn't a factor. So I understand like the whole money game. I was getting to understand the money game.
Okay.
So I'm like, listen, if I go to the CFL, the amount of money that I'm going to make, and I'm going to put my body to the same type of condition that I would in the NFL, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
So like I said, if I played 1 year in the NFL and it was one and done, then I think I would definitely go to the CFL. Plus, with the NFL, I got a pension.
Okay.
Right? It's because you get your pension is activated after 3 years and 3 games. So I played 4 credit season. Boom.
Perfect.
Pension is right there. Waiting for me until I get into like 60s or something like that.
And this is not a knock to CFL, but is it more lucrative to be on a practice squad in the NFL compared to CFL?
It might be. I think I've never been on a practice squad, but I remember the guys would tell me like their checks are like 5-6 a week, right?
Okay.
5-6K a week, which is nice. So like if you do that 16 weeks, what's the math on that? I don't know. It's like 50.
You were acting so confident, so I knew you were going to go
70, 80 grand, let's say 80 grand a year,
Yeah.
And that's being on practice squad,
Yeah.
right? So you're not, of course you're practicing, you're putting your body on the line, but you're not playing the games and stuff like that. So it's not a bad paycheck to get,
Okay.
So I think as a practice squad, you're probably the same as an active CFL player, on that kind of minimum salary or something like that. Mm-hmm.
You touched on, we're going to talk about your next stage real quick. Obviously, we're kind of getting short on time, but I like the conversation we're having. So you gave me, you told me off camera about some advice you got from Richard Seymour, who is, I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer, but
I think, he definitely
near close. You're talking to a Super Bowl champion. What advice did he give you, and how did that translate into your new career of being an investor, a real estate investor, and a real estate and a realtor?
Yeah, I was having breakfast with him one morning, and there was not many guys in the room for whatever reason, and he sat down, and I got my breakfast, and of course, naturally, I'm going to sit down right beside him, start talking to him, we start chatting and stuff, and he was in the end of his career too. I think he was in like year 13, right?
Okay.
Especially as a defensive lineman, that's a long career. And he told me this advice that 10 years later, I still have it till I still think about it till this day. He said, "You'll make more money after you're done playing, and once you understand that, you'll see what I'm talking about." So I was like, that's interesting. I'll make more money after I'm done playing. Me thinking, just like everybody else is, once you're in the NFL, you're making all the money.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You have the paychecks is nice, the contract is good, you get the sponsorship, all that kind of stuff.
And you hear the horror stories of people going broke after the fact.
That's right,
too.
of course. So anyways, he said that, it stuck with me, but it didn't register. Let's just say it like that, right? And it's not until after I left the NFL, I now understood what he was saying. Like I said, I got myself invested in real estate very deeply as well too, to the point that I'm invested in multifamily buildings. I have my own real estate business. I have my own property management, project management business. Like I'm in all types of verse of real estate, which is great and stuff. And now I'm seeing the residuals, right? I've been in it for the last 5-6 years, and it's been a grind, right? It's not just I stepped into it and, the success came through.
Correct.
So I put in a lot of work, put in a lot of time, and I still got a lot of work and a lot of time to put in, right? I'm still very young and stuff, but I see now the residuals coming in, and I see exactly what you were saying.
If you had to think of one skill set and one thing that you took from sports into your I don't want to say professional career, but it is your next career, what would that one skill be that really helps you stay focused and allow you to grow and provide for your family and possibly next generations of your family? Tough question.
Yeah. It's not even work ethic. Everybody's got work ethic. Some people have some sort of work ethic. So I won't say that, but like grit, when you have grit, there's something that's just in you that you just know that I don't want to lose and I don't want to quit.
Yeah.
Once you have that, I think I know it transitions into anything that you do in your life. So like anyone that's listening to this, kids, adults, whoever it is, if you're in sports, if you're not in sports, grit will take you so far further than skill, right? Further than skill. So if you got grit, if you know you want to grind, and if you're willing to grind, if you're able to grind, I guarantee you'll go as far as you want to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
You also got some awards from the city. I think you got you were presented an award from the mayor.
Yeah.
From someone that I know we didn't talk about this, so I'm trying to piece it together. But you did some work with Ottawa Community Housing.
Yeah,
someone
I still do. Yeah.
Someone who grew up in Ottawa Community Housing and to be a recipient and look back and just say, man, I was just a kid in Russell Heights playing dodgeball or playing basketball. What does that feel like, man, to be a mentor and to be recognized on that level?
It was great, man. I think it was like in 2017 I got recognized by the mayor, and I got the award as well too. 2016 is when I linked up with Ottawa Community Housing.
Okay.
And, of course, with my platform, my status, we saw there was a fit, especially I grew up in community housing as well too. And they said, listen, I think you have an opportunity to do some great things. We want you, we want to partner with you. We want to connect with you in order to do all these different initiatives. And we did. And like I said, in 2017, I got awarded with the Mayor City Builder Award. I have that plaque in my office.
Nice.
Because, I can now use my platform. I can now use my status in order for other kids to aspire to do better than me. And I always say that to myself. I don't want someone to be me. I want someone to be better than me.
Nice.
Right? Because I looked up to someone as well too, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to, be better than that person. If I can figure out a way to do it, and I did, right?
There's always someone that's paved the way for you to kind of.
Exactly. There's always going to be someone.
You to the path. You walked the path, but somebody kind of brought you to the path.
That's right, exactly. So if I can do the same to other kids as well too, then so be it.
So I ask every guest this question: if you can go back to your teenage self, what advice would you give in the sports area, and then in school? What advice would you give yourself in school?
So. Sports.
Hard to say for someone who went to the NFL, but if
That's right, yeah. Sports, I would say don't be for like an athlete, pick out the best person that's on the field or on the court or whatever sport you're playing, and always go up against that person. Because what happens is you start understanding, or you're not afraid to lose anymore. I think once you're not afraid to lose anymore, then you now become an ultimate player, right? You become the best of the best, because
it kind of humbles you.
What happens is like, it's human nature to be afraid to lose. Yeah. It's human nature, right? So I'd say 99% of us are afraid to lose, but there's those 1%, those guys and girls that aren't afraid to lose, and those are the ones that are your Tom Brady's, your Michael Jordans, your Serena Williams, all those guys. All those girls and guys. They're the ones that they took the game, by the throat, and they're like, you know what? Bring everything against me.
Yeah.
I'll face them. And if you have that, like I said, I reached a certain level, but I think if I had went back and told myself this, I think I would have even gone even further, right? So that's, on the sports side is, don't be afraid to lose, right? Because you'll definitely go as far as you can go. And then on the education side, especially if you're in Canada and if you are looking to play some sports, get, a guidance counselor, whoever you can, to educate yourself, right? What we touched on, right? Educate yourself on what do I need in order to now get into those universities, whether it's in the US or in Canada, right? Because it's once you get to grade 11, 12, it's too late, right? Then you have to go a route like I went the junior college route, and we're talking about Last Chance U. Yeah. Like that's real. Like I went through, the JUCO route, and it was tough. It was a straight grind. I had to change my mindset when I was there, because I'm like, I'm not home anymore, right? Yeah. And I'm dealing with other guys that are trying to make it just like myself. So it's a dog-eat-dog world. So I would not advise anyone to go that route. If you can avoid it, great.
But some people just have that dream of going to the States, so they think, JUCO, whatever, I got to play, right?
And you know what? If that's the route that you need to go to, you know what I will say? Like JUCO for me, when I was in JUCO, what I did learn is toughness. You got to have tough skin, right? Because a lot of the guys that go to JUCO are guys that were in big schools and they messed up,
correct?
Right? And whether it's grades or something happened, so that's why they got sent to
athletes,
JUCO.
You see a lot of that like.
I went to when I was the junior in Arizona, JUCO in Arizona. Man, there's this guy I'll never forget him, Prince Ryans. Okay, Prince Ryans. This guy's about 6'3", 6'4", 5-star recruit. Was a DB, 6'3", 6'4", 185 pounds, athletic. This guy ran a 4.3, jumped a 40-inch vertical, just like he was a freak, right?
Yeah.
So like those are the guys that I was playing with. I was playing with like some really, really good athletes and guys that, came from big programs and stuff like that. But like I said, it's just they didn't, a couple screws loose, let's just call it and stuff, right? So you have to build tough skin, and you got to be really tough to go the JUCO route, or they'll eat you up and then you're going to sent back home.
Real quick, I know you talked on your mom being a mentor for you and a pillar for you. Now's your chance to kind of give a shout out to anyone who maybe not have heard that you appreciated their help, but some mentors, real quick, if you can give a shout out to some people.
So let's just start with my soccer coach when I was at Ottawa Internationals, Joe Correa, like I was telling you before. I don't know if he knows this, to other guys that I played with as well too, but this guy taught us how to win. And when you have I hope that all coaches can have that kind of relationships and that kind of method to give to the kids, because when you teach a kid how to win, it's contagious.
It's that positive influence.
Absolutely. You build so much confidence in everything that you do. So definitely Joe Correa, shout out to him. Bill Curry, my head coach when I was in college. Like I said, he played in the first Super Bowl. He played in the NFL for 10 years. So he was a huge pillar in my life, and he taught me how to be a man, right? I didn't grow up with a father, unfortunately, but he was a father figure when I got to college and stuff, which is great. And then I'd say the last person is, my mom, right? My mom, she's stuck with me through thick and thin. Till this day, we have a really good relationship. She obviously sacrificed a lot of her time and everything, and to ensure that me and my sister and, my younger brother now, that we have a great life and we all do and stuff. So, shout out to her as well, too.
Christo, man, this was amazing. I don't know if anyone needs a realtor, but how can we find you, or what's a way to get in contact with you?
You can obviously find me on like Instagram. I don't even know my Instagram thing. That's funny. No, I'd say
we'll tag you.
Yeah, easiest way. It's like our website is dreamteam613.ca. Dreamteam613.ca. That's our website for our real estate brokerage. And like I said, I'm an investor. We're doing our first development project. My Jordan and I.
Nice.
We're doing our first development project in some of the properties that we invested. So like when people, I get, funny thing is I get people that hit me up a lot, especially on my Instagram, on just advice on real estate, right? Yeah. And I love that, because I'm not a salesman that I don't chase, and I like to educate, right? I like to coach. So all my clients will all tell you, they'll say the experience was great because I wasn't pushy or anything. It's just like, hey, you want to buy this property? Well, this is what's going to happen if you buy this property. I'll show you the math. We'll do everything. I really focus on investment properties as well too. Okay. I do everything, but investment properties is definitely my niche. But like I said, hit me up, dreamteam613.ca. All my information is there. If you guys want to hit me up, hit me up.
Perfect. Christo, man, it's you get someone who's in the NFL, who played in the NFL, who's successful. Very down to earth, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time. I reached out to you. You were very, courteous, very polite. You were willing to do this. So I know that you want to inspire and whatnot. So appreciate it, man. I think this is going to be a good episode, and I really enjoyed my time. So make sure you check out the episode, like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do, and it'll be a really enjoyable. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to listen to this one for sure, and I'm going to enjoy this one.
Last thing I just want to say is I love this quote. This is on like the real estate side, but don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait, guys. So guys and girls, if you're listening to this, you're thinking about getting into real estate, do it now, especially in Ottawa. We don't know how Ottawa is going right now, but, buy real estate, wait for the appreciation, and you'll be in a better position.
Perfect, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.